Hello, welcome to Lemon Studios, where we talk anything and everything entertainment. I'm, of course, the Lemon himself, Zeke Lemon, and this is my review for Monday Night Raw of December 9th, 2024. But before we get into that, let's get the house clean out of the way, shall we? Leave a like, comment below, let them know your thoughts on this week's episode of Monday Night Raw, and of course, hit that subscribe button as it helps me grow into my YouTube career. I would greatly appreciate it. Now, all that out of the way, let's get into the review, shall we? So, I gotta tell you, man, it really does seem like they finally figured out these 2 hours. It's a shame that in about 3 weeks, we're going right back up to 3, but, you know, in all fairness, I do think that is the best way to go. There's just so much talent. And especially with this transfer portal, how much more talent Monday Night Raw is about to get, with it being the A's show again. We saw Cody Rhodes backstage. Roman already confirmed he is going to Raw. That we're just going to need all the time that we can get, especially with all of the talent that we have and what we want to expand. And there's some storylines that we can just give more time to. Like this Final Testament versus the Wyatt Six. Now, the Wyatt Six just could not stay undefeated. They just couldn't. And they did have to lose at some point. The only problem is that they just weren't showcased every week. It would have been one thing, and I have no problem with Final Testament being the one to beat them. It just probably wasn't the right time for it. And I do think if we were in these 3-hour Raws, I think we do have a segment every week up until whenever they first attacked, which was what, like after Crown Jewel, I want to say? Or maybe it was before Crown Jewel. Now we were building this up, but you know, we had a segment with them 1 week and then they had a week off. And then we had a segment with them 1 week and then they had a week off. Well, it just felt not even in a lot of ways. And then when we finally got to this match, you know, the Wyatts are a draw. I mean, you hear the crowd, they get a big pop and they come out and then, you know, they disappear for a few weeks. Now, I would assume we run it back. And maybe we run it back on that first episode of Raw on Netflix, which just seems like it's really beefing up. I mean, hell, we're going to do Punk versus Rollins round 1 on that, and you gotta assume that's gonna end in a no contest, but we'll get more into that in a little bit. But I just don't think it was the right time for it. I think maybe we should have held off a little bit where we could give it the proper TLC, and I'm not talking tables, ladders, and chairs. And then we could have finally did it. Now, I would assume the feud continues. We do get a round 2, and the Wyatts do get a win because this was another distraction win, where Paul Ellering does finally come back. He sprays the powder onto Uncle Howdy. Karrion Kross hits whatever he calls his finisher. It's like an F5, but yet it's not. And they get the 1, 2, 3. And it's a good moment. And the Final Testament needed that. They needed that victory. It's just, you know, now we have to do a round 2. And again, it was just at the expense of the Wyatts. And I don't think it necessarily hurts them. I just think they need to be showcased more and not just disappear for a month after they have a program. They just need to constantly be showcased. But I do think that it's going to get fixed once we do have this 3-hour thing fixed up. Same thing with the Pure Fusion Collective. I mean, why were they out there with Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez when Liv Morgan was having her match with Dakota Kai? And I also have a problem with Dakota Kai losing that match because she did just win, and now she's going to the semis of the Women's Intercontinental title match. Now, Liv Morgan should have definitely won in this match, and I just don't think it should have been Dakota Kai. I think it should have been Akari Sane who eats the pin on this one-on-one match, and then Io Sky comes out. And we did the thing where Liv Morgan stands tall in the end because Pure Fusion Collective helped her. But I'm also like, what we did later on in the Anything Goes match with Rhea Ripley and Raquel, which was another good match. We just retroactive it because Liv Morgan stands tall at the end. That usually is the indicator of, okay, this person is going to stand tall because they're going to lose on Saturday. It's like, are we going to pull the trigger with Io? And then Io stands tall with Rhea Ripley at the end of Monday Night Raw. And I'm just like, okay, well, I guess we're not because we just evened it out. And Io got the last stand, so therefore she is definitely losing Saturday. And it also just goes back to, it's very obvious, Io is just in the middle. And it's not the main focus. Now, I am glad with what we've done to give this match a little bit more heat heading into Saturday night's main event, but I just don't think it's enough. I am not that invested in it. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a good match because both women are very, very talented, but I am going to be sitting there waiting for the finish where Liv Morgan eventually retains. I am glad Dominic Mysterio has stayed out of Liv Morgan, though, now. And now it is about Raquel being the one who's causing distraction, or his Pure Fusion Collective. And it's just about them doing it, and it's not Dominic. And I'm also just really liking how now it seems to be more about Liv and Rhea as opposed to Rhea versus Dominic and Liv. And now, as soon as we get past our next main event, we can build up Liv versus Rhea, which I would assume where the final chapter will be on that first Raw on Netflix. Now, as for our main event scene, it kicked off with Gunther coming out, Finn Balor coming out, Finn Balor running everyone down, saying, why are you giving matches to Dom? He don't deserve it. Dom's looking at him sideways. We all know that they're going to break up very soon. Hopefully, it just caps off on that first Netflix show, because you got to do some big moments on that first Netflix show, because you got to anticipate there's going to be a big audience. A lot of people are going to want to see what's going on. And that show, even though it's going to they're treating it like a Mania, there's going to be a lot of wackiness in it, and there's going to be a lot of swerves, and there's going to be a lot of breakups on that, because we're going to need these people who are tuning in for the first time in a long time, or these brand new faces who are going to be tuning in, to tune in next week. And I think that we kick off 2025 with the official implosion of the Judgment Day, where there is final judgment and they all break free. But we are again this triple threat match with Finn Balor versus Gunther versus Damian Priest, which I think it was the right plan to make. I think they the streamline, not sped line. They streamlined this triple threat because we talked about it. That, in Finn Balor versus Gunther, Damian's obviously going to interfere. And we all knew he was going to interfere. And we also all know that Triple H is very much online. And I think he saw that and he goes, well, yes, that is the plan, and that is the plan that we should do. But if people aren't really feeling Damian interfering, even though they understand that's what we got to do, let's just go ahead and put him in the match. If they all expect him to be there, let's just put him in there. So yeah, we're going to do this triple threat match. It's going to be a lot of fun. I expect Gunther to retain. I don't see what other shenanigans that could possibly happen, because it does seem like Gunther's storyline is getting that earned win, which I do think really much solidifies his match with John Cena at WrestleMania, if that is the route that we can go. Because I could just see the cap off with it, because my ideal for this start of the final tour for Cena, even though I would love just one last Super Cena run where he just goes undefeated. I think he loses the Rumble, he wins the Chamber to face Gunther at WrestleMania, where it is about the respect and earning it, and that Gunther just needs the clean win, and he needs to beat someone with legitimacy, and that is John Cena. John Cena will give him that, and there he finally gets it, where it's kind of like a babyface versus babyface. Gunther is kind of like in that Damian Priest spot that he was when he first won the title, where people aren't really sure how to react to him now, because Gunther, he'll lay into you and he'll say some dastardly things, but it's really, really funny. But he is all about honor, and he is truly about the sport of wrestling, where a lot of people can respect that. He is not your typical bad guy. He doesn't cheat to win. In fact, he hates it when people cheat, where you're kind of like, yeah, dude, you say some dastardly things and you're kind of a dick, but you respect what happens on the ring after you beat someone up. You shake their hand, even when you lose. He shook Randy Orton's hand when he beat him. And he shook hands with Cody Rhodes even though he lost. And I just think everything we're doing with Gunther is absolutely great. I really don't get why people are saying, yeah, his World Heavyweight title run sucks. I think this has elevated his character tremendously. And I do think it was the right choice to go ahead and streamline this triple threat match. Damian and Balor are going to take each other out. Gunther gets the 1, 2, 3. I don't see how you keep the shenanigans going, because again, I want that first actual clean win to be at Mania, when he does beat Cena, to really solidify himself, to put him over even more. I don't see, maybe you get Dominic involved. I don't know, because again, we've got to keep pushing the narrative that the Judgment Day will be breaking up very, very soon. But yeah, I'm really interested in that triple threat match. Another thing that's going on in the main event scene, Seth Rollins and CM Punk. We talked about it earlier that, it's most likely going to be happening on this first Netflix show, which I would assume would be the main event, and that it would end in a disqualification. Maybe we go back to the Raw 1000 episode where Rollins does turn heel, but we're not very sure yet until a couple weeks later, Drew McIntyre gets involved maybe, although I really don't want to see Drew McIntyre and Punk get involved any way, shape, or form. Maybe it's Jey Uso. Just a lot of shenanigans. I just can't see, because WWE has just programmed me like this, and hell, just wrestling in general has programmed me like this lately. On the free weekly shows, when you get a big match, and you got these two big stars, and again, it's on a weekly show that happens every single week, you're not going to get a clean win. You're just not going to get a clean winner. I would much rather prefer it if it was just a promo segment, and they do maybe have their match at the Rumble, or at that January Saturday night's main event. I don't know, but I am very intrigued to see what we do with this January 1st Raw, if we are to do that. But I did like everything that we did. Well, Punk's like, look, I have no beef with Seth. I don't really know why he has beef with me. And then when Seth comes out, goes, well, you ignored me. Which I do believe is true. I do remember when Punk walked out in, what was it, 2014? Yeah, that was WrestleMania 30. That he kind of disappeared. And a lot of wrestlers just didn't hear from him. A lot of wrestlers did try to call him, and he just didn't pick up the phone. Now, I'm not going to say Punk is wrong for doing that. You know, he went through a lot. He went through a lot. I did listen to his podcast episode, and, you know, he had a lot of grieving to do. It took him, 10 years to finally get all the grievances out, and then to finally come back. So, you know, whatever he had to do, he had to do. But I do believe there was some truth there and to that. And I can kind of understand where Seth Rollins is coming from, even though the crowd is still very much about CM Punk, which I do think if we do this match on the 1st, it's just part 1. That does probably cap off at Mania. And then we all go our separate ways, and maybe Punk goes for the title at that point. But we also got his favor still in the balance, because they made sure to talk about it during his interview section on the show that he did. We're also getting Braun Breaker versus Little Bit Kaiser next week. We're looking forward to that. I'm just nervous that Sheamus is going to interfere. And again, that just seems like a case of that we're doing the same thing over and over and over again. But, you know, hey, it is what it is. As for the tag division, we'll get the War Raiders versus Judgment Day next week as well. Where Judgment Day is completely banned from it, just change the titles. Let's just restart this whole thing and then get the New Day in there to win the titles. I mean, the heat that they got when they came out, right? I mean, it was Roman after WrestleMania 33 levels of heat, where they just wouldn't let them talk, and when they walked away, they all cheered. And, you know, to a degree, they're right. They didn't do anything wrong. They didn't do what Seth Rollins did, where they took a chair and they beat him, and the fans rejoiced him again at some point. They didn't take a sledgehammer and beat him back in the head like Triple H did to Shawn Michaels, and then they all rejoiced around Triple H at some point. No, they just kind of said their feelings. That kind of, even though it's wrong for what they think, it's a valid feelings to have. Like, we've been arguing for months, and now you want to show up? No, F you, dude. Although the delivery was completely awful, I can see why they would be so frustrated. I love everything that we're doing with the New Day. And again, once we go to these 3 hours, and then we can give this TLC that we gave to the New Day. And again, I'm not talking about tables, ladders, and chairs. We can give this to the Wyatt Six. We can give this to the Final Testament. We can give this to the Pure Fusion Collective. We can give this to the Women's Intercontinental title, which I really don't have much to say that I haven't already said before. I think that's the only complaint I have with it. Look, this title is very much needed, and we have been needing it. And Lyra Valkyria is my pick to win it, so she does deserve the win here over Ivy Nile and Zelina Vega. It was a fun triple threat match. It's just, I've seen this all on SmackDown. I'm seeing it now all on Raw, and it's all kind of the same. It's just kind of like, yeah, this person won. Yeah, that's probably the right decision to make. Okay, now we're moving on. I just kind of wish we had a little bit more fun with it. Maybe if we did the tournament on SmackDown, we probably should have had qualifying matches to a ladder match on that first episode of Raw on Netflix, and we crown the first women's Intercontinental Champion in a ladder match or a TLC match, or, you know, something just to give it. Just to make it feel different, because right now it does feel a lot the same, and they are kind of bleeding into each other. I don't recall what is next week's match. But again, right now Dakota Kai and Lyra Valkyria are the qualifiers. I think that is the right to make. Again, it should be actual mid-carders who haven't reached the top yet. So I don't want Io to win it. I don't mind her getting to the semis, but I really don't want her to be in the final, and I really don't want her to win the belt because she has already been the women's champion. And again, I can't really recall anyone else that's in it that's already established pretty much on the main roster. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Monday Night Raw. Again, I thought it was another fantastic episode. Let me know what y'all think about it down in the comments. If you made it this far in the review, please leave a like. I would greatly appreciate it. And again, hit that subscribe button as it helps me grow into a YouTube career. I would greatly appreciate that. We have a lot of content heading your way very soon, and we are on the road to that 500 subscriber mark, which is our goal. So help me get to that. Hit that subscribe button, as we have a lot planned for 2025. And until next time, guys, I'll see you here at Lemon Studios.